Welcome back. For today, we need to do a quiz. I want you to work with people and help me to answer one particular question. So the only thing that I am going to do is to use some time to explain the quiz, the system, and then I am going to ask you to work with specific people. I am going to create the teams. Working with your team, you solve the quiz. One person submit the answers, and that's it. The due date is by the end of the lecture. So think about it, being in the classroom, working with your team. At the end of the lecture, you submit, in this case, on Canvas. So first, I am going to explain the project. Then I am going to create your teams. I am going to assign you to a team. Later, you have time to work. So you're going to have hopefully 1 hour to work, introduce yourself with your team and organize, but be sure to submit before 5:45. So let's start. System. So far, we describe stories and the invest principles, and we work with video games, the Pac-Man, the Game of Life. You have the opportunity to work another project. You have been working with these stories and invest a lot. And I really need to be sure that this is clear, that you identify the difference between a requirement and other things, in particular, steps, coding, lines of code, and the epics. Moreover, functional and non-functional requirements. So just to be sure, working with people that you haven't worked before, randomly. Yeah, don't worry. You are going to have the link there. I am going to work on that while you work on your quiz. So there is going to be a link. So the system, I want your help to do the following and be sure to submit stories. I am asking for stories, not steps, not epics, stories. Whatever you submit, you are telling me that that line fulfill all the invest principles, therefore is a story. I am asking you for the stories of the following: the quiz system on Canvas, a description quickly if you are not familiar at all. Number one, the quiz system on Canvas. There are, number one, a part of the system that is used by professors, instructors. For them, for me, I have a graphical user interface similar to this one to add questions to the quizzes. Step number one, I create a new quiz. Create a quiz. Step number two, I add questions to the quiz. In order to add questions, graphical user interface, one, to create the quiz, title for the quiz, instructions for the quiz, timing for the quiz, if you can take it several times or not. Create the quiz. After I create the quiz, I move to my step two, questions. For the questions, something like this. I can create a question. I can create answers. In the answers, I have the possibility to select which one or more, are correct. I am going to limit this only to multiple choice questions. So basically it's the question, the answers, and one or more are correct. And I can repeat that one or more times. So the quiz can have one or more questions. For each of the questions, I can give points, how many points that question is going to value. At the end, the total value of the quiz is the addition of the value of every single question. This is more or less what happened with the professor. Create the quiz, add questions. For the quiz, some configuration information. For the question, one or more. All the information go to some place. Questions and quizzes are stored. in a database, in a file. I have no idea, but I create my quizzes and they are stored. Well, very good question. Multiple choice, if there is only one correct, is correct or incorrect. If there are several questions that are, or several answers that are part of the correct answer, you can receive partial credits. Let's think about this example. I have 4 that should be kind of checked, all of them. If the user, the student, select 2 or select 1, well, maybe receive 50%, 25%, according with how many they select. So partial credit, yeah. Total 10. In this particular case, the student can have 0 or 2.5 or 5, 7.5, 10, because the number of correct answers. Good. So partial credits, yep, they exist. Okay, so this is professor, but then what happened? There is another part of the system, probably a different actor, stories, student. There are students, and when you access the system, what you saw is none of this, hopefully. You have an interface in which basically for the quiz, you select the quiz, it's there in your modules, you click the link, whatever, you enter to the quiz, and as a student, you have something like this. The title that I put is going to be in some place, the instructions, if I put some instructions, are going to be around, but then you can start with the quiz. Starting with the quiz, one option, the one that I usually select, the only one that we're going to consider here is you have in the screen one question at a time with the answer for that question, and you can select one or more elements. That's it. So you have something like this. You select the answer. Immediately, the answer is saved again in some place, right? You can move to the next one. You have the opportunity to go back and forward. Always, when you answer, your answer is saved. So even though something happened with the internet or your computer crash or whatever, every single question that you already answered, even though you have not submitted the quiz, the answer is saved. It's there. In some point, after you go back and forward, after you answer everything, there is an option for submit. Submit is deliver your quiz to the instructor, right? You are done. Even though you answer or not, correctly or not, whatever, it's just, I am done, submit. When you do that, again, everything is saved. You cannot modify anything. It's done. You go out of the system. Well, the save option is just a letter there, a label, but it basically is submit, next, and we'll be back. Good. This is my view of your view, so maybe there are things like this or this that you do not have. But the options for the stories, next, previous, answer, and the only important different one is submit, you are done, deliver the quiz. What happened in the system? Well, hopefully you notice that there are some things here that are not the student, not the professor, but another actor. I put system, but you can use a particular specific name. The quiz is graded automatically. I am talking about quizzes, multiple choice. I am talking about partial credits and so on. There is no human being. There is not a professor or a TA or something like that grading. The system somehow grade the quiz. When that happened, how that happened, well, the system is grading your quiz, maybe when you submit, and a grade is stored in some place, and that grade is available for you and for the instructor. Grades are involved, and those grades are created by some instance that is not the student or the professor. This is kind of the big picture. You know the system. The only thing that I am asking you is, can you tell me some stories? And I am asking you to use the template. I am asking you to tell me as the role, what do you want, etc. Moreover, this time, I want to ask you, can you tell me the story, the front of the card, and also add the verification criteria, what usually you have in the back, the details, the front and the back in one statement for one story. Obviously, review the invest. Again, I am not asking you for epics. I am not asking you for the steps to do something. We're going to move to that. The only thing that I am asking is stories. Anything that you put in your document with your team is a story. Therefore, follow the invest principles, all of them. And I am asking for the verification criteria, the back of the card, and I am asking you to follow the template. And be careful with the common errors in the template. The requirement is what I want, no the because. It's the second part of the story, not the last one. How do you put the verification criteria? Completely open. There is no template for that. It's just what is the criteria to verify that what is in the front is done. Good. So in the front, the template, the one that you know. In the back, what you are going to do, the details of how that requirement, that story is going to be verified. Think about you are giving this card to a developer, to a friend, to someone in your team. That person is going to read the front and it says what I am going to do. In the back, how I can be sure that what I did is what you asked me to do. Open document. Yes, you can add task details. You can add a diagram. Well, you do not have time, but yeah, you can add those kind of details. Anything that you think is a detail, a task, a step, a verification thing in the back. The only thing that you cannot add is non-functional requirements. Non-functional requirements do not go here. These cards, all of them, stories, functional requirements, functional. So the verification criteria, all the elements, task, whatever you mentioned there is related with the functional requirement that you are doing. Non-functional, that go in a different place. So you know the system, you know the principles. I just want to be sure that you can work and put together some stories. There are at least, hopefully you notice, at least 3 actors, and they do several things. I do not want to ask for a particular number, but you're going to be a big team, and there are a lot of things here to do. Thinking about 15 stories is pretty good number. 3 actors, 5 stories per actor could be possible. Again, I am not giving you a number, a threshold to do. It's just think about it. If you submit only 1 or 2, 3, it's too small. More things are needed. So think about it, but be careful. I am asking for stories, not for steps. So do not go to the specific details, instructions, or something like that. Just talk with your team, whatever you submit, be sure that all of you agree, because it's going to be the same grade for everyone. Good? So, timing. As I mentioned before, you have until 5:45 to submit. Well, in fact, you're going to have until 5:50 to submit. I am giving 5 extra minutes in case your internet is slow or whatever. So 5:50 is going to be the time in which the quiz is going to close. After 5:45, probably you're going to receive a message that the submission is late. Don't worry, no consequences. 5:50 is your due date to submit. So you have kind of 1 hour. Good. Teammates, I am going to do exactly that right now. Please, I am going to create groups here in the Zoom. Zoom is going to give you a team. Work with your team. Be sure to share your contact information if you do not know the people. So just in case that you get disconnected or something, and you need to get back, well, you remember who was your team or who you was working before. So I am going to create the teams. You're going to have your own room, share your contact information, be sure that you can contact those people and come back in case something happened, and that's it. Question, the quiz is going to auto-submit. Regarding auto-submit as a story, yes, you can use the auto-submit or the submit automatically as a story. I didn't mention all the details, not from the perspective of the student, because I am assuming that you are familiar. So anything that you know about the quiz system from the perspective of the actor student, you can add it. My goal with the quiz is to test that you identify what is a story, and you can create stories and verify the INVEST principles. I am using a system that hopefully you're familiar, so understanding the system is not going to be a limitation. Yes, only one person submit. That is something that I was just thinking about mentioning. So only one team member submit. Please be sure to collect the names of everyone. Don't tell me I do not remember the names of my team because we didn't put that in the document. So collect the names, step number one, then define who is going to be the person to submit, and that person submit the quiz, and everyone is going to receive the same grade that that person received after we grade. So only one submission, 550 with your team, only stories, review the INVEST. That's it. The document that I am asking you to submit basically include the stories. As I mentioned, the front and the back, the verification and the template. Bonus points, well, not bonus points, but a requirement for you. We are not going to grade this. It's not going to affect your grade. This is going to affect your grade, but I am asking you something that I need for the next lecture. Can you tell me for each of the stories that you submit an estimation, whatever you want to use, time or lines of code? Give me an estimation of how many work is needed to finish that. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Days is a very good thing. Or if you want to ask or mention complexity, like 100 lines of code, 200 lines of code, whatever, estimate the complexity. Whatever criteria you want to use, put here a number about the complexity of that story, the complexity of implementing the story. And in the same way, I am asking you for priority. One is high priority, and you can go with 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever numbers you want to use. The only thing is one is high priority. You can have only 1, 2, and 3, or you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to you, priority. That story is priority, yes or no, 1 or a different number, or 1, medium, high, 1, 2, 3, up to you. Give me the priority, give me the complexity for each of the stories that you are going to submit. So I am asking for a table like this or something similar with your stories, front and back, estimation, and priority. That's it. As many as you can complete before 550. Good? Okay, guys. So right now I am going to create your rooms. So you're going to be working with 5 or 6 people. Anything, I am going to be around, or if you have a question, you can send me an email. I follow with you by email, in the chat, whatever, anything that is easy for you. Good. So rooms.